Hi, everyone. Welcome. This is Stephanie Hawkins at Archive Social, and we're going to get started in just about 1 minute. Hi, everyone. Welcome. This is Stephanie Hawkins at Archive Social, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So welcome to our webinar on social media spring cleaning for government agencies and school districts. We've got a great webinar planned today. I'm really excited about it. So just to do a quick housekeeping slide, right now, all attendees are going to be on mute. And however, feel free to use the question function to submit questions. And where you're going to find that is you'll see you have a control panel for GoToWebinar. So over on the right, you'll see a panel for questions, and you can type your questions in there, and you can select them either to go to the group or just to the speakers. So feel free to type those questions in throughout the presentation. There will be time for Q&A throughout, although most of the questions we'll do at the end. This is a 30-minute webinar, and for those who do have questions and want to stay on after, we can stay on a bit longer to answer those questions. And then finally, the webinar is being recorded, and you will receive a link to the recording via email. Okay, and so our guest today is Alex Bowman. Some of you may know her. Alex is the Director of Customer Experience here at Archive Social, and she is well-versed on the topic of agency social media management. She and her team regularly interact with hundreds of government and school districts, social media, and public information professionals. I think she has some really great information to share today. So with that being said, Alex, I'm going to make you the presenter here, and we will go ahead and get started.
Thanks a lot, Stephanie, and welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us today. As you know, this is the webinar version of our social media spring cleaning series. In dealing with governments every day, we find that a surprising number of agencies are a little bit unaware of what they have out there on their social media. And because this is such a common concern, we decided to go ahead and write this series of blogs and do this webinar to help guide you through getting your agency's social media under control. So our agenda today is, one, we're going to help you find how your agency is being represented in social media. Then we're going to talk about how you can keep control of that presence and make sure just the right people are talking about it. Number three, we're going to be analyzing your social media presence. And finally, we're going to give you a little teaser of upcoming content we'll be releasing shortly dealing with your social media policy. And then we'll have a little bit of time at the end, as Stephanie mentioned, for Q&A. Okay. We're going to start off today with a poll, find some information out from you, and find out what is your biggest worry with regards to the state of your social media accounts. So I'll give you a moment to answer that poll. Choices here are unauthorized accounts representing my agency, general disorganization, unsure who has administrative control over certain accounts, and unsure whether all account users are adhering to our policy. So go ahead and select your number one worry there, and we'll share results. Oh. I'm going to run that again. Here we go. You can go ahead and click right on your screen and choose your selection.
Yeah, pandemic. Already closed.
Okay, moving on. I'm sorry we couldn't take that poll, but now you have a sense for yourself of what your biggest worry is. we're going to move on with the rest of the content.
Everyone, it seems like we're just having a slight technical difficulty, so we're going to launch another poll to see if we can get this first one resolved. So just bear with us for a moment, please. Thanks.
Okay, great. Everyone, thanks a lot. So we switched to another poll. Can you name all the accounts your agency manages? I'm really pleased with all of you who said you can name all of them. That's great. And don't worry, those of you who know most of them or have no idea, that's why we're here today. And you are in good company because we see this all the time. We definitely don't want you to feel alone in that, because this is pretty common and why we're here. So let's talk about how you can find out which social media, how your agency is being represented online. There are a couple different options here. 1 second.
Just a moment. Another poll technical issue, and we're going to resolve this in just a moment.
Okay, all right, everyone. I'm going to start talking you through how to find yourself on social media while my assistant gets that poll resolved. For those of you who know, even if you are aware of all of the website or all of the networks that are meant to be representing your agency online, you might be surprised to find how many results are out there that are not authorized by your agency. Then there's several ways you can go about finding this. Number one, the simplest of all, is to go do a simple Google search of your agency name and the social network in question. For example, if you are the City of Durham, where we are located, you can put City of Durham Facebook into Google or Bing or whatever your favorite search browser is, and get a quick list of all of the Facebook pages that relate to the City of Durham in those search results. You can do the same thing for Twitter, you can do the same thing for Google+, you can do the same thing for YouTube, and that's one quick way that you can find out how your agency is being represented online. Your hope is that when that search result comes back, that all of those results are going to be Facebook pages or Twitter accounts that you're familiar with. If not, in a moment we're going to talk about what to do about it. Another way you can discover which accounts are representing you online is to go directly into that social network. So for example, on Twitter, if you click on the search icon in the upper right corner, you can type in the name of your agency and run a search and see how many accounts will come up when someone searches for your agency on Twitter. Again, hopefully you'll recognize all of them. If you don't, then we'll give you some tips on how to handle those. And finally, and this is the best way, especially if you have a large agency, this is particularly important for school districts, we have found, and larger cities, is that you can actually send a survey out to the individual departments and say, hey, we know you're using social media. We would love to know how you're representing our agency online, and then ask them to tell you what accounts they have listed. In fact, you probably want to tell them to run those first two account discovery techniques themselves for their department, particularly if you have like park department or police department or agencies that might have a unique presence online. Have them run that account discovery and then report back to you what information they find. One of our clients has provided us with a great tool you can use, or not a tool, but a great survey you can send out to departments that we're working on making that available to everyone else. So look for that in the near future. Okay, so you've run your account discovery and have discovered that you have accounts out there that are not meant to be representing your agency. They might represent your agency, but you don't want them to. So we're talking about cleaning up these rogue accounts, handling imposters, affiliates, and unclaimed pages. There's basically three options here. You can claim them, report them, or support them. So if you're going to claim those pages, a lot of networks will give you the option to do that. For example, on Facebook, if someone checks in to your town or city, but you don't have a page for your town or city, that will generate a page because someone has tried to check in there. If that page has been generated and no one has claimed it, there's a simple place where you can click and say, hey, I want to claim this page. Please note that the Facebook Places listings are not able to be claimed, and I've noticed that recently they have deprioritized those in their searches anyway, so they shouldn't be a problem anymore. But if you do come up with the Facebook Places, those are an exception to this rule. The second option is to report. All the major social media networks have the ability to report imposters and get them removed. So you can go in the help section of Twitter, YouTube, Google+, LinkedIn, Facebook, and say, hey, I believe somebody is impersonating me, and if you can make a valid claim to being that agency or being that individual, you can have that page removed by the network. So that's a great option if it is an active account, but that is claiming to be you and it isn't you. Go ahead and report that directly to the network where it's hosted. And finally, the third option that I'm going to put out here for unsanctioned pages is possibly support them. You may, during your account discovery, find that there are local arts groups or civics groups that relate to your mission, your agency's mission, and that you might want to reach out to and actually grow your network and expand your reach by partnering with them to share content. I think you still need to make it clear that they don't officially represent your agency, but you can, might be a good opportunity, a place where you can expand your reach by tapping into their network and asking them to share tweets or share posts by you and do the same for them. So those are three options for unsanctioned pages. Our next topic we'll move on to is maintaining control of your social media presence. So far, you've gone through the exercise of identifying how you're being represented online. Once you've identified how you're being represented, you've cleaned up anything that isn't really you by either claiming it, reporting it, or supporting it. And now the ones that are you, if you're not one of those lucky 63% who are like, I know everybody who's representing me online, or if you found something new, the next step is figuring out who is behind the curtain there. So ask yourself, who is behind the curtain on those Twitter accounts? There's different ways to find this, and the way I want to describe this is first take that list of accounts you generated and break it down into two categories. The way I like to look at this is there are social networks that allow you direct access, such as Twitter, Instagram, and Vimeo. And what I mean by direct access is that those accounts have a single username and a single password that all individuals posting to that account can use to log in and manage it. Okay? Pages with indirect access, which include Facebook, YouTube, Flickr, LinkedIn, are pages where you might have a personal profile on that network that you're using to manage a professional page. So, for example, the City of Durham, again, we use the City of Durham's Facebook page, may have multiple individuals who have administrative access to that page through their personal Facebook profiles. So a profile represents the individual and the page represents the agency, and multiple profiles can manage that page. So the reason I recommend you separate this into pages that have direct access and pages with indirect access is how you find out who's behind the curtain is different depending on the type of access. For pages with direct access, hopefully you know who's running, for example, that Twitter account. If you don't, it can be a little bit difficult to contact. You can contact the network and say, hey, I represent this agency. This account is out there representing my agency. I need to find out who is behind it. In a lot of cases, if you can't prove it, they're not going to tell you any information. But it's a good place to start because we have had circumstances where an account was set up by an agency and the individual who set up that account has departed the agency, and by working through contacts at the social network, they've been able to reclaim it and reestablish control. This has also been true if an account gets hacked. So several of the networks, including Twitter and Facebook, are willing to work with you on this. If they're not, or if you can't sufficiently prove that you should be the rightful owner of that account, One trick that we have found has been surprisingly effective is to actually message the account directly and say, hey, I am the PIO for this city, or I am the superintendent of the school district, and I notice that you are representing us online. Who is the individual who is behind this account? And by direct message, you're more likely to get a direct answer than if you were to post to the page. So again, use the messenger option on these different accounts and ask. Just ask and say, we'd love to get you incorporated into our policy. We'd love to promote this page. We'd like to know who is actually running it. Okay, so those are a couple different tips you can use in order to find out who is the owner of the page that's representing you online. Now, let's move on to keeping control in the long term, because what we've done so far is just trying to kind of get your social media house in order. It's important that you have a plan in place to make sure that it doesn't get accessed by rogue individuals in the future. And most of this comes down to some really simple tips of password security. Passwords are important. All you have to do is look at the news recently, and the case of the city of Atlanta found themselves hacked and in a lot of trouble and costing a lot of money, and in a situation where potentially could have been solved with better password security. I mean, I don't know the details of that case, not disparaging the city of Atlanta, but password security is really important. So here's some tips for keeping your social media account secure. Number one, schedule password changes regularly. As staff turns over, as control of an account switches departments, particularly on those accounts that we said have direct access, it becomes very easy to just keep passing around that username and passing around that password to more and more people, and losing sight of how many people have that access. And you want to make sure that you know exactly who can get in, because the worst case scenario, someone has left your department, left your agency for reasons, any number of reasons, that is unhappy and has access to that account, can cause some serious havoc and cause some reputational damage to you and to your agency. So as a policy, every time someone leaves, there should be a password review, making sure you see what's there, and just in general, schedule once a quarter, once a month. Let's refresh our passwords. Let's change these out so we know exactly who has the password to that account. Number two, require two-factor authentication. Two-factor authentication is very simple. It means that you have to have a secondary device in order to access something. So if I want to log into my email account, I log in with my password, and then it says, okay, you also need this code that we sent to your phone. And the idea behind this is that if you require a second device that you own, it's very unlikely that someone has both of those and can be able to represent you. Not impossible, but more unlikely. So two-factor authentication is available on most online apps now, and you should require that it gets turned on for anyone who's doing social media on your behalf. Number three is using a digital password locker. This is a great solution, another solution to those direct access accounts. So if there's a single username and password lockers allow you basically to control the access to that username and password. So you can set it once and then give people kind of indirect access to that account using a password locker. So in the slides afterwards, we'll send out some references there. Number four, now we're going to talk about those accounts that have indirect access, such as Facebook and YouTube and Google+. You want to make sure you're designating multiple admins. At least once a week, I need to assist someone who had a single admin for their Facebook page who departed or left agency or won the lottery or whatever, and suddenly nobody else knows how to get into that account. So redundancy is important whenever you have a page or a profile or an account that has the ability to have multiple admins. Take advantage of that ability, assign multiple admins, so if one of those admins leaves your agency, somebody else can log in and make changes, post on your behalf. And finally, if you are using Facebook, set up Facebook Business Manager. It does all the things that we just talked about. It allows you to designate multiple admins. It allows you to control who can post on your behalf, what level of control they have, and it makes it much easier to separate your personal life from your colleagues and allow them only access to your business life. So those are my 5 best practices for keeping your social media accounts secure. All right, let's move on to analyzing your social media presence. So there's been I don't know how many thousands of articles written out there, finding out, is your content working? How can you expand your reach? How can you extend your engagement? That is not what I'm going to talk about today. What I want to talk about today with your social media presence is making sure that you are you're doing the right things in the right networks. And the first thing you want to do is just kind of look at your data, okay? Every social network has a built-in tool that automatically is going to track your information. And the trick is knowing where to look. So here's some screenshots of various social networks. You've got Twitter on the left there. You see, if you click on your icon in the upper right corner of your screen, you can click on Analytics. For YouTube, this is the trickiest one to find. It's listed under Creator Studio. And then on Facebook, when you're logged into your page, is under Insights. These tools contain a great deal of data that you can scope down by date and time and really see kind of where you've been able to reach your audience and where you haven't been, and how you're engaging. If you're an Archive Social customer, you can extend this analysis to your archive itself and take a look at which posts are generating a great number of contents, which accounts are posting or tweeting once every 6 weeks, and which ones are tweeting 6 times a day. You can really kind of figure out what's active and what isn't, because the truth is, having a presence online isn't enough. You need to have an active presence. If someone is going to your Twitter account to find out the latest information and you haven't tweeted since 2016, they're not going to come back to your Twitter account again. And so when you need to share important information there, nobody's going to be there to look. So take the time to go through all the accounts you've uncovered in steps 1 and 2. Take a look at the insights and see, is this account actually working for me? If it is, great, let's keep it going. If it isn't, maybe you want to shut it down. Maybe you want to assign someone to it to make it active again. But don't just let it sit out there idle and publish, because that can actually do some reputational damage to your agency. The next thing is to think about, are you using each network appropriately? All social networks are not created equal. They have different purposes, they have different use cases, and if you're trying to push the same exact content out to all of the social networks at the same time without varying it, you're going to find that you're not going to get the kind of response and engagement you want from your audience. So if you're looking for conversation, if you're looking to put something out there and you want to hear comments and you want to have discussion around that topic, Facebook is a great choice for that. People love to chat back and forth on Facebook, and there's some really interesting things that can come out of that for your agency. You can really get some insight into how people are discussing you and what they feel about your policies. If you're trying to share something that's important and time sensitive, Twitter is your best bet. These are quick bites of information. Everyone can access Twitter on their phone. It's perfect for emergencies. It's perfect for snow alerts. It's school closures. Anything that is quick and in the moment, Twitter is where you want to be. And then if you want to share longer, either promotion, so like great opportunity for tourism boards, or we've seen a lot of school clubs take advantage of Instagram lately to really promote kind of what they're doing. It's very visual content. It's all visual content and really can showcase beautiful scenery, great student projects, anything that has that visual punch is great for Instagram. And then there's also YouTube for things that want to promote what you're doing, either capturing longer form events or sharing PSAs. YouTube is a great place for that. So make sure, again, that you're not just posting once and sending it out to all of your networks, because that content does not engage users very well, and you might find it falling flat. All right, one last question for you to ask yourself when it comes to analyzing your content is, are you presenting a consistent brand online? Go back to your list that you generated in step 1 or step 2, the ones that actually represent you, and check them. Are they using your most current logo? Are they using your most current naming conventions and brand guidelines? Do you have brand guidelines? If not, maybe it's time to think about that. Even though you are a public agency, even though you're a school, you are still a brand, and you still want to represent yourself as a brand and have that strong presence. So the things to look for here are really making sure, again, that if you're your school or your city has, or your department has an updated logo that's applied to all your sites, so people know, hey, I can trust this. This belongs to this agency. You want to make sure that the tone that's out there matches your brand. If you are a very serious agency that's talking about very serious issues, you don't want to have this kind of silly, lighthearted, emoji-filled Twitter stream, right? You want to have more levity there. So take a look at how you're being represented there. And I think we already talked about this. So you can scroll through your profile images, your banners, your about pages to look for those logos. Create written brand guidelines that every department can adhere to, including color schemes, naming conventions, and set a review schedule for all departments and make sure that they're complying. Okay, we have a couple minutes left. I got a little caught up at the beginning with our polls, but I want to make sure to do a quick plug for our upcoming social media policy change. Number one, if your agency is on social media without a policy, stop everything you're doing right now. You can hang up on me even and go get your policy together. This is the number one thing you need to be doing to protect yourself online. We have a great social media policy template for the public sector. We have one that's special for education. We have one for law enforcement. These were all used best practices from across the country, agencies across the country, to pull them together. But social media is evolving, and we are evolving too, and so should you. So very soon, we're going to have a new policy template that came out that is for 2018. If you don't have one now, the one that we have offering here is a great place to start. This is kind of the basics. The newer version is going to be built on top of this. So again, if you have nothing in place, start with the policy that we're sharing right now, and then check back with us in a few weeks, and we're going to be going into a deeper dive on social media policy and all of the topics you should be concerned about in 2018, First Amendment rights, public officials, all those good things. All right, looks like we might have a question here.
We do, yes, thanks, Alex. And it looks like we've had some questions come in, and I want to encourage everybody also to write in any questions you have into the question box to your right. But in the interest of time, let's just kind of roll through.
A couple, yeah.
Yeah, so
we've got a few minutes.
The question we've got here is, how do you address record keeping compliance for each social media? Oprah requires records of everything sent.
Well, who's that from? Thank you, Cindy, for sharing that question. That is everything that we do here at Archive Social. In fact, our entire existence exists to help you protect your agency for records law compliance. We can share details in a moment on how to contact us here at Archive Social for that, but we do connect directly with the APIs of each of the networks we've discussed here today, along with a few others, and pull your content in near real time, both content you produce and comments and conversations that your audience is having that is public record in most states, gets pulled into your archive in a searchable format that can be produced for those records requests. Thank you so much for asking that. You mentioned Oprah, so I'm going to guess that you are based in New Jersey, because I believe that's the records law there.
Okay, great. Well, if anybody has any more questions, feel free to put them in the box. And while you're doing that, I'll just forward to this slide here. Really quickly, just to build on what Alex was talking about with social media archiving. If you want to view your own agency's social media archive, it's very easy. And if you are a public agency, you do have a records issue around compliance. And luckily, it's a very easy problem to solve. So if you have 60 seconds, you can connect to your agency's archive for free via Archive Social. It takes just 60 seconds to set up. All you need to do is connect your Twitter account, and you'll be able to see your records in action, including all revisions to your content and deleted records. All you have to do is go to archivesocial.com and enter your Twitter into the box there. It looks like a few other questions are coming in. One is, can you share the site for the social media policy template? And that's coming in from Lori. Yes, Lori, it's just bit.ly/govpolicytemplate.
You want to go back to that screen?
Yes.
We will also be sending this out to all attendees after the webinar, and so you'll have that link there for that policy template as soon as we send out this presentation.
Okay, great. Yes, we'll send out a follow-up email. Oh, it looks like the link may not be working. So you know what, we'll send up a follow-up email with another link in it, and all of the rest of these resources that Alex has mentioned during this presentation.
Yeah, and for a more in-depth look at all of these topics, this did actually cover 3 full blog posts in 30 minutes, which is kind of a record. If you can go to archivesocial.com/blog, you will find the full-length social media spring cleaning there.
Okay, it looks like we've got another question coming in, Alex. And this one is from Sharon. And the question is, how do I successfully shut down a social media page as a government agency? I have concerns about violating a record-keeping policy.
That is a great question. I think the best way to go about that is to make sure you're capturing those records before you shut the page down. Another tip there, which you can do through us, you can do with there's a lot of different archiving options out there. We do go back through your entire social media history, so we are a good option on that. The other thing that I would recommend is that you make an announcement that you're going to shut that page down. Don't just go dark without any warning, and make sure you provide alternative ways to contact your agency before you pull the plug. And also, we've seen people have great success with social media. So if you want some more tips on how to make your page more successful rather than shutting it down, we'd love to share some of those with you as well.
Absolutely. All right, great. Thanks, Alex. It looks like we're coming up to the end of our time here. So I will send out a follow-up email with a bunch of resources in it, and it will also have a link to this recording. And if you want to share that with anybody else at your agency, feel free. And then finally, I just want to say thanks to Alex one more time for a fantastic presentation and for bearing with us through these technical challenges. Thank you, Alex. We really appreciate it.
I'm happy to be here, Stephanie, and I want to thank the audience as well for bearing with us at the beginning there.
Great, and thanks everyone for attending. We'll get that follow-up email out soon. Thank you.
Have a great day.